All right, working with this wall section and trying to get our siding on here, we're going to have to first create the nailer in which the siding rests up against. At the very bottom of our siding, these boards that are coming down the side of our wall, we have this nailer that kicks the bottom end out just a little bit. Now that nailer is in line with our 2x8. It is 2 inches tall, but not really 2, right? It's going to be the 1.5. And it's going to be 3/4 of an inch in width. So what we want to do is create a rectangle that is 3/4 by 1.5 tall. That rectangle is going to have the X through it. It's going to be part of our structural dimensional lumber. And we want to place it to where it's just in line with this top edge. So I'm going to move it from the top right corner to be in line with the top left corner of our 2x8. The boards that we have, they tell me up top that they are 6 inches by 1/2 of an inch. And on siding, we usually tell you the exact length. So we're going to draw a siding board that will be 1/2 of an inch wide and 6 inches tall. Oh, I went a little too quick. AutoCAD did not recognize my 6. So 1/2 by 6. There we go. All right, now this board here, when we place it, we're going to want it to be like next to our board, but down some. I don't know exactly how far, right? In real life, when you're placing the board up against the home, you're going to set it on there and then you're going to rotate it into place. For me, I'm going to move this bottom end point, not to be in line with our nailer, but I'm going to then move the entire thing down 3/4 of an inch, right? 0.75 or 3 divided by 4. When I rotate this board, it's going to pivot based on this top corner of our nailer, right? It would be rotating into our wall or leaning into our wall, and it pivots based on that. So it would be in AutoCAD the command rotate. It'll be rotating based on that top point. Now, as it leans into the wall, I don't want to just guess and go, oh, I think it's that, because we might miss our target, right? What I want to do is use some math. Not really math, but geometry. I want to use the path in which this corner here would rotate if I were rotating about this point. The path in which it rotates creates a perfect circle. So if I were to draw a circle centered at that top end point, going to the top end point of my board, well, this edge, this blue circle, would be the path in which this corner rotates or pivots around. I'll show you. If I just were to rotate this thing, right, that top corner is going to follow that circle all the way around. So what I'm trying to find is the angle in which it rotates to where it just touches this wall, and it will be at that exact point. So I'm going to use a sub command of the rotate command, and we're going to be rotating based on a reference line. So I'm going to start the rotate command, RO, enter. I'm going to rotate based on this endpoint. And instead of just rotating around, I'm going to choose reference, R, enter for reference. My reference line will start at this endpoint and go up to the endpoint that is rotating. And what that does is allows my cursor to depict where that edge of the board will go. Well, I want that edge of the board to come over to where it just touches my building. I don't know the angle. I don't need to know the angle. In real life, I would put my board right up against this nailer and I would lean it back until it hit the wall and I'd nail it in place. And I'd be good. What I need to pay attention to is the next few boards. They tell me that they have a 5-inch exposure, meaning from the bottom of one board to the bottom of the next is 5 inches. So I can see 5 inches of exposed wood on my siding. What that means is the bottom of this board needs to be 5 inches below the bottom of that board. So right now, I don't know how to get 5 inches up and over. Other than I can just draw a line, offset it up by 5, and then extend it back over to my wood. Right at that point, right there, is 5 inches above this point here. So I'm going to draw a brand new board. It'll be a 1/2 inch wide. It'll be 6 inches tall. Oh, it does not like my quickness. And the bottom right corner of it will end up touching my board right there at that end point. Now I just need to figure out how far to lean it in. Instead of me rotating and pivoting off of like some weird point up top, it'll be rotating and pivoting off of the point that it touches our other board. So again, I'll draw myself a little reference circle. I know that it'll be pivoting around that point. It'll follow this path. And I'm going to use the rotate with the reference command on the right edge of my second board over to where my circle intersects my wall. So I'll highlight, RO, enter for rotate, choose this for my base point, R for reference, end point on the bottom, end point on the top, and then make them touch and escape. I would have to do that same thing over and over again. Every single board, all the way up this wall until I touched my soffit vent. I'm not going to make you do that. What we're going to do is just copy this, not with the copy command, but we'll copy this second rectangle up every 5 inches. If I were to copy it from here, straight up 5, enter, 10, enter, 15, enter, and every multiple of 5, I would get my next siding boards to where I would have 5 inches below each piece. Now they don't perfectly touch. In real life, this would kick in, this one would kick in, and we would have to find the exact distance. But in AutoCAD, we're not going to take our time and do that. Instead of using the copy command, another way I can get repeated copies going straight up is by using the rectangular array command. So highlight this top rectangle, click draw, array, rectangular array. Now, I don't want these vertical columns coming in. I don't want 4 copies going to the right. So I need to change columns to 1. Because I only have 1, I don't care about the spacing. I'm just going to hit enter. What I do care about is the spacing of my rows. So I need to click rows. However many I have, I honestly don't know. I don't know how many are going to finish up into here. I'm just going to guess 30. But for my distance between my rows, I do care. I want that to be that 5 inches, so I have the 5 inches of exposure. For the incrementing elevation between them, keep it at 0, hit enter. And what happens is they get spaced up. Here's 30 of them. Well, they don't touch the top of my roof. So I'm just going to click on this blue triangle and I'm going to drag it up, and it's going to add more rows until I get up to where I cross over my soffit vent. One last parameter that we need to change in our array command is we need to make the associative property to not exist. So associative array, no. Now I'm going to hit enter to exit my array. And what that does is it treats each individual board as an individual board, not as one array. So now I can go through and trim this top board right where it hits my soffit vent and get rid of the rest. In real life, I'd be taking a saw to it and cutting off the top. That gives us our siding from the bottom all the way up to the top, and it gives us approximately the right angle that it's going to be.